Welcome to the another edition of the Gaming Blues podcast, number 12, I believe. And always with me is my partner in crime, Darren McPhail. How are you doing, sir?
That's me with scratchy voice, Andy Shin.
My voice is very shot today because the Thai food I had is screwing up my throat, but people love high intensity, right? You'll get the best.
You get really close. You get really close to the mic and say, "I'm Batman."
I'm Batman.
There you go. That probably felt pretty easy.
All right, for this week's podcast, we actually didn't have news last week, so we actually didn't have a podcast, and which is kind of bad because I want to be consistent in terms of our releases, but sometimes there's nothing to really talk about.
It's just the way of it. And sometimes the news just all happens at once, and the companies go, "Hey, give me money." Other companies go, "No, fuck you. That's too much." And then they just go back and forth, back and forth. And then sometimes there's a giant convention over in Europe, and they go, "Hey, here's a bunch of video game news." It all happens in the same span of 3 days.
Funny you say that because it actually happened this week. That's why we're having a podcast.
What?
This podcast is available on your favorite podcast platforms, including Apple Music Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher. No, we're not available on Stitcher. They hate me. I don't know why. We're also available on Podbeans, and I think... what's the other one? I don't remember. Oh, Google Play. Google Play Podcast. There you go.
Nice. I got that app.
So search the Gaming Blues Podcast. I think it's all one word. And you'll find us there with 11 previously recorded episodes. All timeless classics.
And if you're listening to this, that's 12. You made it. You're here with us.
And if my overlay is working, you will see our Twitch URLs below. Check us out when we're streaming. We sometimes restream this podcast, but this week, as you can see, my voice is very dying and I'm turning to Batman, so we can't stream this week. All right, that being said, Gamescom happened this week.
Gamescom. Andy, what is Gamescom for the uninformed?
For the uninformed like me, all I know is that Gamescom is like a European E3, where I think, let me double check, I think it happens in Germany.
I believe that is correct and is the circumstance. That is a video games conference targeted in Europe.
Every year, the different video game conventions usually happens in America, except for the Tokyo Game Show, obviously happening in Tokyo. And Gamescom is a way for all of our European gamers all over in Europe to come and enjoy the upcoming games.
It's also a chance for European developers to actually get out there and be like, "Hey, we exist."
It's also, I think, this year, if any year, was a good showing for the indie developers, because I saw a lot of new indie game releases amongst the really popular ones. Now, Gamescom
seemed to be the predominant showcase was various indie games. They came out in full force.
Now, Gamescom, while it's still big in its own right, it's not as big as E3, obviously.
Yeah,
but
don't worry, by next year, E3 might be dead.
And so will my throat. Anyway, there are actually notable announcements at Gamescom. And I think the biggest one we will dive onto will be obviously Kojima announced and showed 2 different Death Stranding videos and trailers for the upcoming game, which happens in about 2 months or so.
Yeah, just about 3 months.
Now, before we dive onto the Death Strandings and all the peeing action we saw, let's touch up on the little stuff. Well, it's not really little, but
the other announcements that we care less about and will probably roll over.
I mean, this one you might care, depending on your circumstance. Sony has finally decided to buy out Insomniac Games, the creators of the Ratchet & Clank series, and recently Marvel Spiderman.
I'd say it's pretty cool. Makes a lot of sense. Spider-Man sold ridiculously well. I think it was one of the fastest selling PlayStation games of all time.
I thought you said the most fattest games.
It's one of the fattest games around, man. The game's got fat content. No, Spider-Man's really good. It's a good video game, and Insomniac's been in the market of making good video games since the 90s. So I'm actually surprised they did not own them.
Me too.
Like how Nintendo owns Intelligent Systems and how Sony owns studios like Naughty Dog. Like that's very surprising to me because they've pretty much really only been developing for PlayStation as long as I can recall.
They have been up till the Xbox One, where they made Sunset Overdrive for the Xbox One, and they focused more towards the VR audience, which I don't even know what games they made, but they made games for it. And then they come out with the big bang that is Spider-Man, and here we are.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably best known for the Ratchet and Clank games outside of Spider-Man. So that's kind of like a PlayStation core franchise, or at least it has been. So it's pretty cool that they finally got the official seal of approval and they're in, and they'll probably be making Spider-Man 2.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but did Insomniac Games make Spyro?
Yes, they made Spyro the Dragon. I believe that was their premier video game series that put them on the map. They may have developed other games beforehand, but that was like their first major release, and that's what really put them out there.
It goes notable game release, I think, goes Spyro, then Ratchet and Clank, and then the Resistance series on the PlayStation 3.
Depending on how notable you consider that, yeah.
1 was good, 2 was meh, 3 was... It was decent for its own right, but it got really weird after 2. Got really weird. But hey, Resistance was one of the very first PlayStation 3 games that had like 64-player lobby matches. Fun fact. Now, this... At the time, I was like, okay, Sony's buying Insomniac Games because, you know, they made a lot of good games for the platform over the years. And they're a beloved partner for Sony. But after hearing what happened a few days ago with the movie franchises, this makes a lot more sense now.
It's a very, very opportune time for that news to happen, and for Insomniac to so happen make the most successful superhero video game potentially ever.
But we will touch up on that later because we have, or at least I have, a whole rant about that. But yeah, this was basically a foreshadow in its own way, but nobody expected this to come. Moving on, another minor news that Darren doesn't care about. The Gears of War 5 will include 2 characters from Halo Reach as playable character skins for the game. I think as pre-order bonuses.
Shocker.
I think it's a good throwback.
Whatever. But isn't the bigger news that Gears of War 5 is coming to Steam?
And has gone... Wait, is it coming to Steam?
I believe that's what they announced, wasn't it? That they're going to be making future Xbox titles available for Steam, and to have that, like, the PC be unified.
I thought they were pushing the whole Xbox Pass thing, which did include the PC versions of some Xbox One games. Now, if they're adding like the Steam versions to that pass, then yeah, I think it might come. I mean, they have to with like the Master Chief Collection coming out for Steam or PC.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not gonna put it on the Epic Store.
I mean, I would hope not, because that would not go in their favor.
But
marketing wise,
one thing I don't get from Microsoft's stance on this is that like have they given up on trying to get people to, you know, remain faithful to the Xbox, like the brand, because like you're losing exclusives and you're like branching out your like AAA titles to the PC.
Well, I think they're in the market of they're getting to the point of going, we're not selling as many boxes as the other competitors. Like compared to PS4 sales and Switch sales, they're not even close.
We have so many boxes around.
But a lot of people are talking about Microsoft constantly, and I think, I don't have the stats or numbers to back this up, but my understanding is that their games are being played a lot. So I think they're looking at themselves as how do we become like the Netflix of video games?
No.
How do we get our games in people's hands? How do we generate a constant revenue stream without having to rely on console or video game sales.
The question to that your statement is they're playing games, but what games? Are they playing the multi-platform games on Microsoft, or are they playing the actual exclusives on Microsoft's console?
Well, as long as you're signed up to Game Pass, it doesn't matter. That's all they care about right now is they want to get you on Game Pass. They want you more on Game Pass than they do on like actual Xbox Gold.
How do you feel about having another sub-service to subscribe to potentially, amongst like the myriad of other ones we're subscribed to?
I mean, it's like any subscription service. It's all about if you actually use it and if you enjoy it. And from what I gather, Games Pass seems like a ridiculously good deal. Like it just seems like you're getting a lot of games for the amount you're paying.
It's
and
$1 right now.
Yeah, on PC they have a huge promotion where it's $1, and it kind of seems like a no-brainer to use it. Like I don't understand why people wouldn't want to use it. I don't use it personally because I don't really play that many new, I guess not necessarily new, but some of their games are new, some of them are not, but I don't really play a lot of those types of titles, so it doesn't really appeal to me. But I could see the appeal. I get it. Like, isn't Devil May Cry 5 coming to Games Pass?
I believe so, yes. I think it's coming this month,
which is huge. Is that also for PC? Is that only for Xbox?
I believe it's only for Xbox because there's already a Steam version available, right?
Yeah,
and that's already
where
tied
it gets
to
a
the
little
thing.
bit muddy for the PC version. Is how do you separate that ecosystem from Steam, which is like trying to get developers to sell games there? They're trying to get everyone on board, and then you're trying to kind of outmaneuver them by offering borderline free content.
And there's also the question of if you play multiplayer games, how is Xbox Live Gold going to be calculated? Is it included within the pass,
PC,
or
you don't need it, right?
Then what's the incentive then? It's like it's really confusing. There's a lot of questions.
That you're constantly paying them per month to access games through your Games Pass. That's their whole business model.
But it's cheaper than getting Xbox Live Gold, though. So why would anybody just like play physical games at this point then? Like, are they just literally just moving towards the whole, as you said, like the Netflix platform now?
I think that's what Microsoft's pushing for. And I think we're going to find come like PS5 and the next generation of consoles, there's not going to be much point for owning a physical box unless it has like a physical capability to it that you need, or you need a system to play said games. Like if you don't have a PC, consoles are just going to be cheap PCs. Like that's what they're going to be, more or less. There's going to be concentrated bits of powerful hardware at a slightly more affordable price than a brand new PC.
I mean, that's
like the Switch exists because you have the option of portability, and it's something that you can't do yet. But Microsoft has a cloud service. They're trying to get that. So eventually they could very well have a service set up where you have your Games Pass, you play it on your phone, you play it on your TV, play it wherever. And they're going to try to push that like as a competitor to Stadia.
That's a nice segue.
Works.
That's a great segue, by the way, because Google Stadia made its appearance at Gamescom after doing its own Google thing.
Well, you know me, Andy. I'm nothing but bait.
Moving on.
I've watched a lot of Arrested Development, so I have a lot of really bad like sayings that can be taken the wrong way in my head.
Right. So to the uninformed, Google Stadia is basically what we just talked about in terms of Microsoft, but Google's doing it. If anybody remembers on live where it was basically Stadia like alpha, where you buy a mini console and a controller, and what that little hub thing was, you connect to the OnLive cloud network and you stream the games off of the servers, so you don't need a very strong PC, but you only require a very fast internet. Now, at the time, internet wasn't very fast. I think like at the time, like 15 megabytes per second or Mbps was like the god speed. But right now, we're getting close to almost like a gigabit or gigabyte per second. I think gigabit. Darren always gloats that he has super fast internet.
I have incredible internet right now.
Whatever, like it's only for download speeds. At a certain point, like you don't really notice how fast your speed is.
Yeah, but if I'm trying to stream a game, I need to be getting and sending in back and forth a lot of data pretty quickly.
He's at a certain threshold that doesn't matter apparently, but
Yeah, but we're not at that threshold. Not generally. Like even for like just trying to stream content, like if like I'm a bad example because I'm like the 1% of internet users in North America who have stupid fast internet. Whereas you have a lot of people in the States and other parts of North America that have absolutely terrible internet connection. They have terrible connectivity. They can't access anything.
also I was gonna say you don't even stream anyway, so how would you know?
Well, I have on twitch.tv/ the gaming pilgrimage.
Can you make a little motion down here because your name's like down there, so
Twitch.tv/ the gaming pilgrimage.
right there. No,
I
move it
didn't
over.
stop for pilgrim because that's my Twitter handle. Twitter.com/ the gaming pilgrim.
But your Twitch is Gaming Pilgrimage, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm not wrong
Just
on
like
that
the
end.
YouTube. The same thing as the YouTube. I didn't put that as my Twitter because it's too long.
All right, so Google Stadia is Google's new streaming platform where you buy a little hub controller and you can stream any game within the Stadia library to your browser at any time and place if you have an internet connection. Now,
Which sounds cool.
which sounds cool, but right now nobody has actually nobody tested this yet because it's still rolling out, and the list of libraries it's still kind of small compared to what you can get from just buying a console. That being said, they announced three new and one update to the library, including Cyberpunk 2077, Samurai Showdown, and Mortal Kombat 11, and they released a trailer for the new Doom Eternal game. Two things. First, who in their right mind is going to play a fighting game over like a streaming thing?
I can see the value because right now we have a lot of exclusive fighting games on either PS4 or it's like a mix of there's an environment where people on the PC have like the larger user base. So there's like an idea of like trying to unify or connect to those other platforms.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of playing a game that requires immense precision, incredible netcode, and you're stacking another layer of network issues on top of existing network issues for fighting games, it seems really sketchy. Like I remember using PlayStation Now to try to play Third Strike with my brother, and I couldn't do any combos. I was dropping everything. Like it was really frustrating. And so I've listened to interviews on Stadia where it's the way Google talks about it, they seem incredibly confident that everything works flawlessly and that you will not be able to tell the difference. I don't know how true that is because I haven't actually had hands-on. But in theory it could work, but in practice I can't see it being flawless out the gate.
For those that are curious about Stadia, if you own a NVIDIA graphics card, you can do this thing where NVIDIA basically has a service that's basically Google Stadia, where you can stream games or kind of simulate them on lesser systems. And my coworker tried this at work. Say he has an iMac for work, but using the NVIDIA like streaming thing, he was able to stream PC games on the iMac like flawlessly with no lag. So
Really?
the technology does exist. Our office Ethernet is like we got like the most
It's like
expensive
the 1%,
one.
right?
Yeah, the 1%. So for the 1%, it will work. I'm assuming, let's say my office is the 1%, and then Darren's internet, which is faster than mine. I think he has like 600 down and 600 up. I have.
It's something really dumb. I tried when I was testing it while we were streaming. I had 200, so I imagine if I was not doing this, it would be quicker.
Anyway, so I would assume that if you play online games right now over your console, then you should be able to stream Google Stadia games at 1080p at least. Obviously, streaming 4K is going to take more bandwidth, but I think, or at least I'm playing, devil's advocate here, but
Yeah.
Stadia will theoretically work, and I think it will be a good bar of entry for people wanting to try out games before they buy them, maybe, or they just can't be bothered to like actually own a console. Like you can play this on your phone or play on your tablet or like TV. Maybe if you're traveling a lot, that kind of stuff.
Because the really weird part for most people is if you're invested into it and if you're going to do it, are like it seems like they're essentially charging you per game, whereas a service like Games Pass just gives you access to a huge library of games.
Yeah.
But it just begs the question, like, what do you get out of it? Like, how much is a stream version of a game going to cost versus a copy of the game? Just like either that's a disc, an SD card, or like a Steam download. Like, and it also begs the question of digital ownership. What level do you own your stream of the game, like your stream copy? And then to even throw another layer on that, what if you're a Twitch streamer and you want to show games on your stream? How does that affect things if you're streaming the game to your system and then you're uploading that stream in 1080p to Twitch?
I mean, I wouldn't assume that people will stream using Stadia, to be honest. If you have a computer good enough to stream, what's stopping you from, like, I'm assuming their computer's going to be good. Or they're streaming from console.
Well, if you have a stream computer, you're probably just going to play the games natively, right? But it just begs the question, like, what are the capabilities of that? Because I think that's going to determine how successful it can be. And like any console or platform, it depends on their exclusives. It depends on what they actually get.
I also find this to be a bit hilarious because Xbox released their Xbox SAD edition, so that's basically a Stadia, but for only Microsoft games and like multi-platform.
But the difference is for Games Pass, you actually download them to your system.
Yeah,
which
is more reliable in a way.
Yeah, but that's Microsoft's like dream, is to have it like that.
Oh, you think Microsoft wants to like stream it?
They 100% want, because they own a cloud service. They 100%. This was in a Giant Bomb featurette where they had Phil Spencer on. And he talked about like why he thought Stadia was so interesting, and he was talking about like Xbox Cloud, and just based off of that and the general direction of all their business so far, I totally see it as a point of they want to be like the Netflix of games. They want to have access to a huge library that you can go nuts with, play it wherever you want, have access to a huge library of games. You're paying X amount per month. And maybe if it's the idea, if you want to have the stream service on top of Games Pass, that's an additional subscription or a higher, more expensive one.
I think also the biggest gain for at least Microsoft and Google, well, not Google, but Microsoft, if they do go that route, they're cutting out the middleman in terms of like physical manufacturing now. That means they'll save more like money in terms of progress.
Potentially, in some cases, they can dance around publishers a little bit too. Or at the very least have better publisher deals for trying to get games on their platform?
Maybe. But again, like internet, it all comes down to how affordable will really fast internet be in the future across the world.
No, that's what it really depends. If we have internet like South Korea, we might be set. But right now we don't. We're not even close.
I mean, South Korea is like only fast and I mean, everyone keeps praising how super fast Korean internet is, and it is, but I mean, it's only possible because the country is like very congested in a way, you know?
Yeah.
Like it really works for Asian countries, but for countries like Canada, for example, where we have one road and lots of land, it's kind of hard to actually set up that network to have really fast internet for the cheap. So for, well, I guess the US listeners, we pay about around $100 if you don't get a promo for like 300 down or 150 down and up. Yeah. That's like the average price. I think our US brethrens get a better deal than that, I think, depending on where you live, but it is an investment for sure.
Yeah, it definitely is.
But we will see how it turns out because Google's betting a lot on this, I think. Like there's so much development going into this thing. They're also got like the publishers to like put games on their thing, especially Samurai Showdown.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool that they have access to this.
I heard Sam Show or SNK turned down like the Epic Store deal before when they offered them to be on their platform. Now I'm not sure if that's true. It might change, but the fact that they're coming to Google means Google might have actually paid them a lot of money for this, which is good because SNK could really use the money.
I mean, it's interesting. It shows kind of dedication to that sort of ideology, I guess I could say.
Speaking of ideologies, let's talk about Death Stranding and its ideologies.
First off, I want to say 90%, if not more, of that entire Gamescom showcase was just Kojima just trolling everyone. Just him going, screw you guys. Like, look what I can do. I'm freaking Hideo Kojima.
And I love how he's trying to explain what's like in the game, and the translator's like doing his best to translate, but it just comes out as gibberish.
So bad for him.
It's like, what is this guy talking about?
Kojima, he's like looking to him. He's like, say this, and he's like yes, so this.
I was like,
so you use the baby, and you see because the mother died, but the baby's
the
connected to
baby,
the mother.
the baby, the baby,
The baby.
the baby.
See, she can't move
because of the baby.
But her boobs are really big
because of the baby. Because of the baby.
During that part, I was just shaking my head, going, "Oh,
because of the
man."
baby.
Something happened to Kojima where he had an interaction with a mother, a woman, or something, and it just ruined
him.
Or not necessarily him, but it just utterly changed his philosophy on how women should be represented and how they should act. Because my God, it's happened in every game now. This one looks to be upping the ante.
Oh, and the feminists on Twitter were like we're in uproar because of this, not surprisingly.
I mean, he claims we would regret our words and deeds over Quiet's reason for wearing a bikini, and that didn't pan out.
I wouldn't know. I didn't beat the game yet.
Did you get to the part where you get Quiet?
Yes.
Did you get to the part where they explain to you why she wears a bikini?
Yes.
Because she wouldn't be able to breathe?
Yes.
Because she needs to breathe through her skin?
The baby, I don't know.
Parasites?
Yes.
It's not a great justification.
Nanomachines?
Yeah, literally. She doesn't wear clothes because shut up and nanomachines.
I mean, she needs to breathe, Darren. She needs to breathe.
If he just wants to have a hot sniper girl running around in less than nothing, he shouldn't be so weird about it.
I mean, Elise is
coming. He wants to have an excuse to have his best actor friend, Norman Reedus, just whip out his dick and pee for like 5 minutes. He doesn't need to justify it in game.
Now, I didn't know if you caught that but remember after he peed, like a giant plant / mushroom thing grew out from the ground. Did you see that?
Up. And then they just ran past it. I'm like, wait, isn't that?
Are you gonna ignore that?
Game system.
I think that has something that has to do with like if you pee in the same spot twice, that will happen or something.
And then the translator said something about maybe being able to use, or Jeff Keighley was saying this, frickin' Hideo Kojima's other best buddy was saying that couldn't you like use it as a weapon, or you can try to pee on enemies? Because you know how in Metal Gear Solid 5 it was a meme to get like the wolf to get D-Dog or the horse to like do things, like as a meme to get D-Dog to just take out every enemy in a compound, or it was a meme to get like D-Horse to poop on enemies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is that just going to be the next level? It's going to be like, what can you pee on? Like, how do NPCs react if you press the P button?
Well, mushrooms grow on them if you pee on them.
Like, do you get a game over? Or they just say, like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm Sam Reedus. I don't agree doing that.
You're pissed on the president. America is ruined. Game over.
No, he just says, you're the president of jack shit.
Oh my god.
It brings up more again. It
questions.
Brings up more questions than it resolves.
Only Kojima can get away with showing a peeing function in the game and have people be perfectly normal about it. Yep, that's just Kojima being Kojima.
Yep. This is what we're
That's
this is our
all-
boss.
This is all the money that went into it. Konami denied my vision of putting peeing mechanics in a game. Screw you, Konami.
I mean, this also kind of highlights part of the problem with Metal Gear Solid 5, which seems to be like feature creep to the extreme, where just more and more stuff gets added on over time to a point of just ridiculousness. But he can do whatever he wants. He owns it. It's his company. It's his call. He's getting Sony money and lots of bucks from other people. Maybe the Epic Store. It's
don't say that.
we don't know yet, but we'll see. The other thing I want to touch upon is how Jeff Keighley is in the game as an NPC, and it just says Luden's fan.
Mm-hmm.
And that was weird because it wasn't his voice. It was just some voice actor, but it was just Jeff Keighley in the game.
Jeff Keighley's likeness in hologram.
Yeah.
It was a big whatever.
It is. It's just throw it to the pile of just Hideo Kojima and his actor friends.
So after seeing 2 trailers, one about Mama and another one being Dead Man?
I believe that's his
The
name.
Tarantino,
Del
like,
Toro.
yeah, Del Toro, like, sorry, not Tarantino.
Del Torrentino.
Del Tarantino. Yeah, the game's coming out in 2 months, and either
3 months.
3 months, and either Kojima's a marketing genius and has literally been hiding what the game is about up until now, just by showing like the nonsense stuff, or this game is just going to be literally a visual novel of Kojima's story with some exploration elements.
It's going to be walking around, creating ladders, peeing on grass, occasionally getting a cool motorbike, hitting people with a briefcase, and then going to the next cutscene.
And then going to World War I when you see Madsen and just...
Yeah, you go to Hades, Mads Mikkelsen. And, I mean, we did learn more lore about how Dead Man's talking about how the bridge babies work and connect you to basically the dead world or like the past.
Yeah, you need to, if it's upset, you need to connect it to a virtual put it back in the womb, and then that will calm the baby down. You can do this anytime if your baby is stressed, or you can just take him out of your cooking thing, shake it, and then it'll be relaxed. So literally you are babysitting the game.
While also doing
the game.
While you're also an Amazon Prime delivery guy.
Amazon Prime delivery babysitter soldier America person.
Well, Mr. UPS man.
I hope to get a delivery van as like a Drabble vehicle or something. USPS.
I had pre-ordered the game.
Postal service.
I have no clue what I'm getting. I have no idea what game I'm playing on day one.
I demand you either stream or at least make reaction videos to the most absurd stuff.
I'll probably just stream it and just sit there with me just shaking my head and just trying to follow along.
I also did pre-order it, but I'm not going to stream it because I'd rather enjoy it to my fullest.
Oh, so I'm not allowed to do that, but you are.
I'm just gonna enjoy all the scenes with Mama going like, Kojima, you're fucked up in the head. And
Something happened. Yeah, that's Death Stranding, which is probably like one of the biggest stories coming out of Gamescom.
Isn't that kind of sad though?
I mean, Gamescom isn't E3. It's not meant to be a big reveal. It's more meant to be about the developers. Like there's a lot of talks usually and whatnot too at some of those conferences. And it's also a chance to get a lot of hands-on time to play games that were announced at E3.
I heard the 7 remake was there, I think.
Yeah, I saw off-camera footage of it.
Yeah, so that's good.
Looked cool.
All right, then 3 other minor things that Darren doesn't care about. Well, no, he might care about this one. Yakuza 345 remaster will be coming. Well, not all at once, but will come throughout the year to PS4. 3 is already out, I
which
think.
yes, three's out now, but it opens the potential for them to all also be on Steam, which is really cool.
And then they also talked about bringing the Isen one
Yes,
localized.
they said they're still looking at how Yakuza performs. So please, everyone who keeps buying Yakuza games because they're selling well and we're getting all of them, please do so because Isen looks so cool.
I read an interview saying like they think Isen won't do well because they think the modern games are doing well because they took out the Japanese like aspects of the game. I'm
They
like,
did
no,
not.
it's
They're
like
still super Japanese.
yeah, it's like just
they're the most Japanese games you can play because they're just about Japan and Japanese culture. Like,
I think that's what he was talking about. Like
relate to it.
the modern stuff is more appealing than like the Warring
That's a load
States
of
era.
malarkey. Samurai stuff is super popular in Western culture. Everyone's a samurai weeaboo.
Next
Used
thing,
to haven't discovered it yet.
did you see the new Need for Speed Heat gameplay video?
Nope, because I don't care.
I was excited. I liked Most
Good for you.
Wanted.
You're not gonna buy it. It's
Most
fine.
Wanted was good.
You're not gonna buy it, so just skip it.
Watch me buy it, fool.
You're not gonna buy it.
Who knows? All right.
You're not gonna ever play it.
And then Mortal Kombat 11 DLC announced. I was not surprised because people leaked it because
Months ago.
fighting game people leaked everything all the time.
Because that data shows up in patches.
And people got really good at data mining. So, new characters include Nightwolf already came out. Sindel's coming out. Spawn is back through a various fan demand.
But Spawn was never in Mortal Kombat before. You're thinking Soul Calibur.
Whatever, he's back in a fighting game.
Woo.
Terminator, as hinted at before.
Which is cool.
And then the Joker, who was in Injustice, so
Which is confusing.
another parallel universe stuff, who knows?
It's a weird pull. It's like, why?
And then Shansung came out, and Sindel will be coming out next after Nightwolf, I think. But none of us play
Shansung's
Mortal Kombat,
already
so
out.
yeah, it goes Shansung, Nightwolf, Sindel, then I think Spawn, Terminator, and Joker in that order. But who knows? But none of us play Mortal Kombat. But I am excited to see Spawn, even though
Are you?
as a guest character, I think he's interesting. I don't know. All right. That does it for the video game news. At least for this week.
3 Switch Day. That's it.
Whatever.
It's coming out in October.
Oh, also, by the time you're watching this, the demo for the Switch version of Dragon Quest XI S will be out on the eStore.
Yes, I need to download that tonight because I want to see if it includes the retro graphics.
So check that out. Also, if you're remotely interested in those Mario and Sonic Olympic games, which I am not, they included a mode where you can play as the 8 and 16-bit versions of the characters in minigames. I thought that was cool.
And they showed off more Mario and Sonic characters without shirts on, and it's disconcerting because people are really obsessed about it.
It's none of my concern, Darren.
It's like back in Mario Odyssey where there's the level where Mario runs around in a swimsuit and people are like, look, Mario has nipples. Like, stop. Why are you freaking out about this?
Turns out Mario's human after all. Oh no, he has nipples and his belly button is outside and not inside.
What is this?
All right, that is it for the video game news. And I was going to talk about like other topics, but the news bomb kept on happening this week. Thank God, because we always need something to talk about. In the land of the movies, Darren, what is the one franchise you thought that needed a sequel?
Oh man, where to even think with this one? I mean, I would always like to see more John Wick movies.
Yes.
I was so ready for another Zombieland movie.
Which is
what, like 5-6 years after the other one came out? Like, God, they missed the date on that one.
Zombieland 5 years after.
But Andy, what sequel to a movie franchise no one asked for a sequel in did they announce?
the good old Matrix trilogy is going to get a sequel after all these years, and it will still reprise of Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss as Trinity, which makes absolutely no sense because she died in the third movie.
Whoa, spoilers.
For a movie that came out 15 years ago, or 10, I don't know.
Also, I was about to say, it's a shame there's never a sequel to The Matrix until now.
Is that a joke?
Yeah, it's been a meme in the just ever since like how people were disappointed in
2 and 3.
Yeah, they just constantly have had a joke of, oh man, it's a shame The Matrix never got a sequel. Crying shame.
If anything, okay, let's just start this off by saying those movies did not age very well. If you go back and watch the park fight scene in 2, the CG is very noticeable now.
I think 1 has aged pretty well, and it's probably, I think it still holds up as just an enjoyable movie.
2 is sort of rough.
But yeah, the other movies age by the day. They age by the hour.
But the good thing, if anything, is that the original, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Wachowski brothers.
Wachowski brothers, yeah.
And who created The Matrix with Lily Wachowski is writing the sequels. So this is not one of those a reboot imagined by a different writer slash director. It's actually by one of the the people that actually wrote the original. So
yeah, but at the same time, it just
there's
continues
hopes.
That trend of showing you how creatively bankrupt Hollywood is.
Darren, what if they're going to reboot the entire Matrix and go back to the first one and redo decisions made? Matrix.
Well, here's the thing: the core conflict is resolved. What do you show?
What if everything was in Neo's head? There's so many possibilities. What if Zion was actually ruined by machines? What if this is the alternate reality where Neo didn't stop Agent Smith? What ifs and the big what ifs. What if Trinity didn't die in 3? What if Neo never went to see Trinity in the first movie? What if Neo became an agent? No, these are horrible storylines. Don't do them, please. I mean, the only thing I can think of is they literally retcon the entire trilogy and just go back from the beginning and redo it.
I don't know what other stories you tell, honestly, because the core conflict's resolved. Let's find a way to contrive it and go, no, there's this now. You need to go back. Maybe
it'll be like Wreck-It Ralph, but with like Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves breaks the internet.
You need to go fight yourself as John Wick.
Oh, dude. But yeah, it's really... Well, I think... Like, with the advancement of technology, I think they can come up with new interesting stuff, because this was made back in the day where, like, hacking was, like, all... like... Yeah. What do you call those? Like, literal just digits and whatnot. I mean, it still is. But we're in the age of, like, information control and stuff, and all this talk about, like, AI running amok. So I think they have more resources to pull from. But then again, like, what are they gonna do? I mean, is Lawrence Fishburne still confirmed?
I mean, I remember.
Where's Morpheus?
Do you remember the Animatrix, where it was like that? Like, is a bunch of different shorts all set within the Matrix that are done by different anime directors?
That had really messed up scenes.
Yeah, but that's like a potential for alternate stories. But clearly, they're not doing that since they have the characters returning. I think you could do something with the Matrix if you brought in like a new set of characters and kept the references to the other ones like minimal, but clearly they're not going with that, since the thing they announced was, hey, we're getting the gang back together.
Maybe Neo and Trinity like has gone rogue. Maybe they're the evil ones that like you introduce new characters.
But everything's resolved.
New conflicts occur every day, Darren.
I don't know. It's gonna be
Theorycraft, man. You know how fun that is.
Doomed. Nothing's original. No one can come up with new ideas. Everything's doomed. John Wick was a miracle.
I actually watched John Wick 2 the other day.
You never saw it too?
No, it was on Netflix. I was like, why not? 2's the one where his dog gets killed, right? Or is that 1?
Spoilers, and no, that's in 1. That's
Oh.
the inciting incident. Is that his wife dies of like a terminal illness? It might have been cancer or something else. And then she basically had a dog being sent to him because she knows that without her in his life, John Wick will snap.
The baby.
And so she sent the dog to kind of be like, hey, I know you need something to love. You need something to keep you busy. Take care of this puppy. And you see this beautiful little montage of John Wick becoming close to this puppy. And then Theon Greyjoy from Game of Thrones ruins it.
He ruins everything.
He ruins everything. Even season 8.
Ooh. Yeah.
I mean, he was okay in season 8.
Okay, so I did not see 2. I saw 1. But going back to my point, literally...
You've never seen John Wick up until recently?
Yes.
What the fuck, Andy?
I don't know.
How
I mean,
did you enjoy it?
I literally watched it and I was like, this is doing is Keanu Reeves just killing people every like second and like little one-liners here and there. Just goes back to more killing.
But it's amazing.
It's
so well done.
Killing, silence. Killing, scene change. Killing, one line, killing.
So well as it builds up this whole weird society of assassins thing that's like super in the background. And they don't explain it, and it's just there, and you just have to accept it. It's super cool.
Is 2 on Netflix yet?
I don't know, but 2 is cool, and it has some really good fight choreography, but it's not. I think 1 is like lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, like it's a good
1,
movie, but
yeah, because 2 and 3 are just them. They're just more of that. They're just more of John Wick going around killing. Like that's what you want to see. And they obviously do it well, but 1 had like more punch to it because you didn't know anything. So when people are talking about John Wick, it's like more of a cool mystery. It's like, what did he do? Like, who is this guy? Why is everyone like the assassin world scared of him?
If anything, I thought, well, spoilers, when he kills the, what's his name, Vladimir? No, the evil dude's son. I thought they would make a more like a big deal out of it. But no, they just kill him off and they're like, that was my dog. It's like, that's it. Like, really? I thought you were going to make like a big deal of it and like torture him, but you just shoot him in the head. That's be done with it.
No, John Wick's professional.
Like, John Wick doesn't give a shit about like dramatic monologue. He just want to kill you. Done. Period.
He literally wanted just to put a bullet in that boy. My God, he did.
I mean, yeah, it was a good movie, but like, maybe because coming from like other movies, maybe I expected more dialogue. Not that it's a bad thing, but like
I was gonna say, you came to the wrong movie if you were expecting more dialogue.
It's like killing. It's like, wow, like that's very violent.
Wow, what a horrible way to die.
I get shot in the head.
Oh, that looked cool.
Yeah, but I will check out John Wick 2 if it's on Netflix, but it's not, so. All right, moving on to the main topic after almost 15 minutes into the podcast because we're like that. This dropped out of nowhere, and it actually dropped after I was talking to Darren about, hey, look, it's Matrix 4. Wait a minute, look at this shit. And this bomb dropped. Marvel and Sony had a little falling out, and Spider-Man is no longer part of the MCU. Supposedly.
Negotiations are still open.
It is open.
But Sony rejected their initial pitch.
And I will read out to you what the initial pitch was. Quote unquote, Disney wanted a 50-50 co-financing agreement, while Sony reportedly proposed to maintain the current terms, which allows Marvel to have 5% of first dollar grosses. Now, this means that box office sales, let's say you get $100 million making a box office. Mm-hmm. Under the previous deal, Marvel only took 5% of that. But they kept almost the entirety of the merchandising profit.
Which is pretty huge for a hero like Spider-Man.
And this was part of the 6 movies the Homecoming movies, the Spider-Man Homecoming, Far From Home, and any like Avenger movie that Spider-Man was in. So that would include Civil War. I don't know if it was an American Soldier, Endgame. What was the other one? Infinity War. So that was the initial agreement. Now, since those were over, Marvel was like, hey, let's do another agreement. But Spider-Man's uber popular now. So don't you think I deserve more money? And Sony's like, maybe, but 50% is kind of a bit too much, isn't it? So deal's off. Now,
well, there's also more to this too.
Oh, yeah. But
it's a bit more than Marvel going, we want 50-50.
Like, it's basically, well, how about you tell it from what you heard?
From what I understand, they wanted to do a different revenue split. They wanted all of the merchandising profits.
Which they already had.
Which is huge, again, for a hero like Spider-Man. And they just wanted more. It was just everything but way more. To like almost like a comical extent.
Yep. I mean, if you think about it, a jump from 5 to 50%, that's huge. Like, they wanted 10 times more.
Like, literally at this point, Sony just makes
nothing.
50% of movie sales. Which in the grand scheme of things is nothing compared to like the total of, like all the merchandising and all that. Like, that's huge.
I found a Twitter on someone doing a breakdown of what this means. Now, this might be wrong, but it is I think it makes sense. So, Far From Home had a $160 million budget to make, and it grossed $1.1 billion at the box office. Now, if Sony takes the new deal of 50-50 split, then they would save $80 million in production, but they would lose $550 million in the box office revenue because they upped the sharing cost with Marvel. So it went from 5 to 50. So they're losing more on the box office revenue, whereas they would save a bit more on the production cost. But overall, it's a net loss. Now, under the old deal, which is 5 to 50 and whatever, Disney had the merchandising right to Spider-Man, which consistently grosses over $1 billion a year, making their profit from the Spider-Man IP far greater than Sony's.
Yeah.
So this new deal was basically just asked Sony for money because Spider-Man's up on the rise. And
I mean, he's always been the most popular superhero.
Now, clear something up for me, Darren, before I rant about this, so I can gather my thoughts. Why did Marvel not retain the intellectual property to Spider-Man? Why does Sony own it?
Back in the early 2000s, when Marvel was going bankrupt, they sold all of their movie rights for all their intellectual properties for dirt cheap. They basically auctioned them off. That's why you had studios like 20th Century Fox, Sony, and then later like Marvel's own film division, where they all had different IPs. That's why Fantastic Four, why X-Men, and why Spider-Man were all being done by different studios. And because the MCU didn't blow up until after Marvel started doing it itself as a movie production company, then they got big enough to go, okay, now we need to start doing our important characters that we sold off. And Spider-Man was a pretty big one.
And what happened recently that made Marvel suddenly have a big dick? Or big balls? No, Disney bought them.
Well, I was going to say, like, obviously Disney. Also, scary fact, Disney owns 38% of the movie market.
They own 20th Century Fox now, right?
From what I understand, yes.
I can look this up, but keep talking for a second.
But the point being, they own almost 40% of the entire film industry. That's really scary. That's a really dangerous prospect, because then they basically have a monopoly. They're generating, like, already, before Avengers broke every box office record ever.
Holy crap.
Marvel movies were like siphoning all of the revenue for almost every movie. It's very rare you have a new movie idea like John Wick come through the fold and actually turn a profit and become popular enough for a franchise. Marvel is like the movie market. Disney's the movie market. It's not healthy for the industry to have one titan just making all the money and spending all the money and getting all the money.
So here's the thing. This is what Disney owns. Ready? ABC. They own 80% of ESPN, one of the biggest sports outlets. Touchstone Pictures. Marvel, obviously. Lucasfilm, which is basically they own Star Wars.
They own Star Wars.
They own 50% of A&E, another TV channel. They own 50% of the History Channel. They own 50% of Lifetime Channel.
That was a drunk purchase.
They own Pixar. Disney Pixar? Obviously.
Yeah.
They own Hollywood Records and 10% of Vice Media, but whatever. The point is they are slowly trying to buy out everything, aka they're monopolizing the film industry. Now people, if they don't do their research and only know Marvel about like, oh, they make my favorite movies. They make Avengers. They make Iron Man. They make Spider-Man. I love them.
Why aren't you letting my X-Man be in the thing?
People went on an uproar thinking like, they didn't even read the numbers. They just read Marvel and Sony end ties. And that's it. And their immediate head goes, oh, it's Sony being jerks, not agreeing to Marvel's new demands. And they're calling Sony for being greedy, for not accepting. And they're like, hashtag...
But you have the leader in the industry who owns most of the pie.
Hashtag save Spider-Man from Sony and boycott Sony was trending on Twitter for like the past 2 days. People are saying that Sony is greedy for not accepting Marvel's offer.
I like Tom Holland Spider-Man. Why can't he be in more Marvel movies? We need him for Secret War.
All these memes about like, oh, Andrew Garfield got fired from Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire got fired from Spider-Man. Guess Tom Holland joins them. No, they did not get fired. There's like...
They just did reboots. They restarted.
If you read some of the reasonings you see on the like the Twitter, of which you shouldn't because Twitter's cesspool, people legitimately believe that Sony didn't do shit in terms of like making those like Spider-Man movies. They think the Marvel ones are way better than the ones that Sony made, like Amazing Spider-Man, the original trilogy, which is
Sam Raimi films like more or less
billions.
made superhero movies
Popular.
like a thing. Iron Man changed superhero movies, but Sam Raimi superhero movies established modern day superhero movies. Without Spider-Man, the original 2 Spider-Man movies, you wouldn't have the MCU.
You know what
There's no way it would exist.
You know what we had before the Raimi Spider-Mans? We had fucking Superman Returns.
We did.
And those damn Superman movies.
We had the 80s with like with the Tim Burton Batman. We had, you know, the Christopher Reeve Superman, which were good, but like they didn't really attract a new audience. They weren't modern comic movies. They were 80s movies. And the Sam Raimi movies, like otherwise you had shit like Daredevil.
The Ben Affleck version.
Colin Farrell going, I never miss.
It really goes to show how old these people are sometimes when they don't even like know.
The mindset of, this is a 16-year-old child.
Like you don't even know what like the Raimi films are, did you even know what a VHS tape is? Because I watched I think the original Spider-Man on VHS or DVD.
I watched it on my Sony PlayStation 2, playing Sony's
DVD
PlayStation
player
2 version of Spider-Man on the DVD player.
I don't know. It really boggles me that Disney, people love Disney. Let's put that out there. But to a point where anything they do, it's just like people are like, oh no, it's always like Disney's the victim in all this.
No,
like that kind of mentality.
The thing I like is not being supported. I'm angry is the thing. Agree. Make friends of these mega corporations. They're your friends, children. No, they're not. They want to take money from you. They want to make your money. Stop being so idealistic.
Also,
And
how?
besides,
Yeah.
all this is just slander to Spider-Verse, which is the best Spider-Man movie, which was made by Sony Animation.
Which people don't still haven't even heard of, even if it, like won the Oscar.
Still the least popular Spider-Man movie.
Still hasn't broken a million either. Like a billion or million, billion.
It's definitely broken a million because it far exceeded expectations.
So it's like compared to the other ones, it's the least grossing film.
Successful.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in terms of like an animation film and in terms of like what was set for it, it far surpassed anything they had anticipated.
And
it's freaking phenomenal.
Do you honestly believe that people would have like known about this deal? I bet you somebody from Marvel like leaked it to like the like press outlet and spun it to like suit like their narrative.
100%, because after all this shitstorm, Marvel's like, okay, guys, we're still talking to Sony. Keep the hate coming. Keep the vitriol spewing.
The thing that's disgusting me is even if Sony does make up and like offer some kind of like halfway point with Marvel, people are gonna be like, "Oh, we saved Spider-Man. God bless Marvel."
It's sad because it's true.
This will only give like false belief to people if we bitch about things long enough on social media. It will come true.
Look at James Gunn.
Look at freaking Sonic the Hedgehog.
But that's true too.
I mean,
There
that one
is an
deserved it.
impact. Social outcry has an impact on the movie industry.
Well, you know how like people don't even remember that Sony actually kept Spider-Man alive by buying it from Marvel, even if it was like, just a liquidation at that point. It really, it just baffles me. Like, I was super mad about this on Twitter, but you can follow me at Last Blues to hear all my ramblings.
Here's the other thing. Consider this. Marvel Game Studios' own Avengers game,
Which looks like shit.
it doesn't look great, and it's very much trying to tie in that Marvel MCU film vibe. Insomniac Spider-Man is considered to be, like, right now probably the best superhero game ever made, like having revived that subgenre and brings new life into this character. That wouldn't exist if Marvel owned it and had the ability to funnel that. Like, I think there's value in other people's visions of a single thing. I also think this is just a big dispute between two companies, and in a perfect artistic world, you could have whoever make whatever Spider-Man movie. But we're capitalism. We don't have that. And in this instance, I think it's dangerous for an entity like Disney/Marvel to own everything and to have control of everything.
To debunk other myths, let's go this in order. Myth number 1. It was all of Marvel. Like, Sony didn't actually help with development, which is true. They only contribute like the funds to make the film. So Sony gave the money to Marvel to make the movies. So in turn, Marvel made, great movies. But if you talk about like who owns the thing, obviously the ball is in Sony's court. They don't have to do anything.
They don't have to bend to Marvel's will.
No.
That's why they're getting this social outcry.
Who in their right mind would, let's say going back to Spider-Man 2, it made almost 1.1 billion like grossing. And that was before Marvel making the MCU Spider-Mans. This is not downplaying Tom Holland or anything. But if you can make 1.1 billion and somehow make money with movies like Venom without Marvel's help, I don't even know how that happened. Why would you pay Marvel 10 times more in shared gross revenues? You're just literally giving Marvel money.
And in turn, lose out on the opportunity of creating under that IP and license.
Also, I think people horrendously downplay how much money comes from merchandising.
Yes, people, like, here's the value in owning Star Wars. It's not making movies.
No.
It's making Lego sets. It's making T-shirts. It's making toasters. It's making coffee cups.
Toasters?
It's making action figures. It's making trading cards. Making posters. Making everything Star Wars. Like, if you look at whenever a Star Wars movie comes out, it's the merchandise that's through the roof that everyone's buying. That's everywhere. It's collector's items. It's all that.
Movies are a giant marketing platform. Especially for superhero things.
Especially for super. I mean, that's all I really have to say on it. It's a false sense of idealism and a false sense of, I like the thing, so don't take the thing. Don't change the thing. Let me have the thing. Company that makes the thing are good. Company that doesn't make the thing are bad.
If anything, shouldn't you be boycotting Marvel for being greedy jerks?
Yes, but the messaging's not that way. The messaging is, Sony did not agree to our terms. So now children, Tom Holland's gonna disappear. He's gonna get Thanos snapped all over again.
Sorry, another boycott thing was trending on Twitter, so I'm like, is this not a Spider-Man thing? No. If anything, I think Korean people will be very supportive of Marvel because they hate Japan's guts right now because of the whole... Also, long story short, Japan denied trade to export to Korea. So Korea boycotted Japan right now. And all the Uniqlos and anything Japan related, people, like famous YouTubers, they're like buying tickets to Japan, like airplane tickets, and ripping them and not going on the trip after paying for it. How's that boycotting? I don't know.
The purpose of a boycott.
Anyway, all the Uniqlo stores are yeah.
Be the opposite.
People are calling him like, you're a dumbass. Anyway, like Uniqlo's are shutting down. So if this thing gets wind in Korea, they're gonna be like, ban all Sonys. Sony is evil.
How dare you? I'm going to buy this Sony camera and break it. You sure showed them, kid. You sure showed them.
So the next other question is, does Marvel own Tom Holland's Spider-Man? Or is that still Spider-Man intellectual property belongs to Sony?
I imagine that's a complicated answer that's probably connected to they own his rendition, but they cannot legally produce him calling himself Spider-Man. Like, I don't think that can exist without Sony's agreement.
Now, my take on this, aside from the legal bullshit, is I was kind of, at the time I didn't think about this like thoroughly, but the first thing that came to my mind is, oh, Sony will get the license back and they can make their own movies. Oh, we can have that original Sam Raimi Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man and the Tom Holland Spider-Man and Venom crossover. That'd be the greatest shit ever. Sony can make that, but I was like, wait a minute, Tom Holland's Spider-Man is still MCU. I was like,
That's a complicated question. I bet you part of their agreement is that if we are making Spider-Man movies, you are not allowed to.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, you can still make animated films, I guess, because that's not really a feature film.
It's a different demographic, as numbers show.
People also suggested that if the MCU Tom Holland Spider-Man is still within like Marvel's intellectual property, then they should totally make a Miles Morales like live Spider-Man film, and Sony can just do that.
That'd be cool.
I think that'd be really cool. Give more time for black actors. I'm all for it. Also, when Spider-Gwen movie happening, you know?
I mean,
I'd see it.
They tease the multiverse.
Yep. We will end this on saying that Sony is not an idiot as a company. They know what they're doing. They are a giant corporation that has many reaches into different sectors. Now, people joked about how, like, oh, Disney can just, like, buy out Sony, right? No, I don't think they can, because Sony... Well, two things. Sony is a Japanese company, and laws work very differently over there. And hostile takeovers does not work as in America. It works like an anime.
Yeah, you have to fight a dude without your shirt on the top of a tower.
Make sure you have a tattoo on, or else it's not gonna work.
Otherwise, it's just embarrassing.
Yeah, like why would you fight without having a dragon tattoo on your back?
Or just any tattoo. If it's just your naked back, like you just.
This is a spoiler to Yakuza Kiwami. Anyway.
This is a spoiler to every Yakuza game.
Every Yakuza game just ends with you being shirtless on top of a building fighting some dude.
Except
I'm not wrong, by the way. This is actually what actually happens.
I was trying to think. I think Zero's kind of the exception.
Where does Zero end?
You fight a dude shirtless on a boat.
Yes.
And then in Majima's instance, you're in a tall building, not at the top.
Yeah, you're in a tall building.
And the other guy has his shirt on.
I think you still fight at the roof of the building, though, like the top floor balcony, but whatever. I know in 1, you fight at the top of the building. In 2, you fight at the top of a roof building with helicopter pad.
Building.
Yeah.
That's under construction.
I don't know what 3, 4, 5 is. Maybe they do...
3, 4, 5 all end on the Millennium Tower. Yeah. No, 5 doesn't. 5 ends in the streets.
Did that game suck the most?
And I haven't played 6, so I don't know.
Is that the one where Kiryu just becomes like an uncle because he's trying to help? What's that girl's name? Yeah, trying to become an idol.
Haruka.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
It's got something with that. I mean, he's always been a weird whack. But yeah.
But yes, a second thing. Sony's fucking huge. They own electronics, they own film, they own probably other things that I would know. So no, Disney probably couldn't buy them, so don't be stupid.
They could. It just would probably not be worth it.
Yeah.
It doesn't give them an advantage. Like the way buying Star Wars gives them a bajillion-dollar thing to make money off of.
Also, if you don't think Disney is buying everything, literally there's a chart on the internet. If you go see it, it's in the shape of the Mickey Mouse head, and it shows all the different sectors that Disney owns.
Grows by the day.
You know, they recently bought Marvel and 20th Century Fox and Lucasfilm, and they bought everything else. You know how their streaming platform will include Disney and ESPN Plus and Hulu? Am I going somewhere with this?
It's that this podcast is brought to you by Disney Entertainment Ltd. Please subscribe to Disney Plus.
Check.
So we can eat dinner.
Check out the new Marvel movie and the new Star Wars movie. Dude, if it gets sponsored, I will laugh if Disney like pseudo like sponsors this podcast one day, and we're like, oh, gotta delete that podcast where we said they were evil.
Fun fact, back in the day, I was partnered with Maker Studios, which Disney bought. So all the checks I got from AdSense from YouTube had Mickey Mouse on them.
You're one of them.
I was part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, according to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge, we can't say that word on live. Oh, but we said the forbidden word. Now we're gonna get canceled. No, we will never be canceled. I will cancel the show with my own hands. Probably from laziness, but...
I mean, we have to be careful
will see.
What we're saying. You never know what Disney can.
What the fuck? Oh, great. We just got canceled. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. You can find this podcast on Spotify. Oh, he's back. We're not canceled anymore. Perfect. All right. You can find this podcast on... Internet problems. You can find this podcast on Google Play. I was gonna say this is... I was almost gonna say like this podcast is available on Disney Channel.
Please check it out. Check us out on Disney XD on Saturdays at
Oh my
10
god.
Pacific Standard Time.
Dude, Overwatch League's on Disney XD too.
I know.
Does
weird.
Disney own Blizzard now? That
esports.
That was also in the talks. Disney might buy Activision Blizzard. We're gonna get Disney Warfare.
I mean, but Andy, don't you want a Pixar animated Overwatch movie?
Oh.
That's the problem.
Oh my god, you know that will do well.
You hate it, but it's good. Anyway,
It's not gonna happen.
thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the Gaming Blues podcast, which you're listening to right now,
Not on
be sure
Disney.
to rate us on iTunes, as each review does helps bring a couple more eyes on each episode. It means a lot to us. And if there's anything you do not like with the show, it lets us know and we can improve upon it.
We are also available on Spotify and Podbean, as well as the other one I can't remember. We are also available on YouTube. All the video VODs will go on there, and you can check us at our own personalized streams. Mine's down here, and Darren is right over there at the bottom. You can see right there. Darren, what will you be streaming when you have time, content-wise?
When I have time, I might be interested in trying to stream some Samurai Showdown, but I think I'm going to stick primarily to PC. So I want to do some more Pokemon at some point because the rotation took effect on the ladder, so stuff actually is possible to test, not be broken. And I'm actually, after this podcast, looking at the Games Pass because the promotion ends in 12 days. And there's a shit ton of games there, and it might be kind of fun to stream some of those.
You can play Gears 4 for $1.
Ooh, that's what I wanted.
I actually want that. For me, I actually have content ready for the YouTubes for once, and they'll be going up in a couple of days. I will be streaming more Sam Show probably, and I think I like streaming on consoles more compared to Darren. So I will actually, when I have time, will go through all my backlogs, including watch me suck on Bloodborne, which suck on Bloodborne. Not wait.
You
What?
Suck at.
That's the title of this podcast. Thank you for listening, viewers. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.